Good morning, people of YouTube. This is Reverend again. I am coming to you early morning Saturday. Today is the 23rd, and tonight is fight night. There's a UFC pay-per-view, UFC 197 coming up, and this is my little preview and predictions for the fight card. Let me go ahead and run down the prelims really quick. First fight of the night on Fox Sports 1 for the prelims, we have Claico Franca versus James Vick. I really don't know too much about these guys. Actually, I think I remember seeing James Vick. Because of that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take him for the win. How he does, anybody's choice. All right. Second fight of the prelims on Fox Sports 1, we have Carla Esparza versus Jaulianna Lima. This one's going to be pretty interesting. Carla Esparza, this is her first fight back after losing her championship to the current champion, Joanna Jurecic. This one's going to be pretty interesting. I want to see whether or not Carla has learned anything from the last fight, because let's just be honest, over her career, she's pretty much been a one-trick pony. Wrestle her opponents down, pound the crap out of them, pound them into submission, and that's how she usually wins all of her fights. We know Jaulianna Lima is a Brazilian fighter. She should be well enough schooled in both Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in order to be able to hold her own standing up or on the ground. This one's going to be an interesting fight. I think the way that this one is going to go, though, is that it's going to go unanimous decision to Carla Esparza. She's going to control her. If she's able to mix in her striking with her takedowns to throw Jaulianna Lima off enough to go ahead and take her down to the ground, do a little bit of ground and pound, grind her out a little bit, and then maybe hit the reset. All right? It'll throw her timing off, and she won't be able to get used to her enough on her feet or on the ground in order to be able to hit her or be able to land a submission. So Carla Esparza by unanimous decision. Okay, next fight on the card, on the prelim card, is Danny Roberts versus Dominique Steele. Don't know any of these guys either. These guys are coming up. It looks like they're both two experienced guys, one from England and the other from the U.S. This one should be entertaining. At welterweight, we need more welterweights coming in to fill the ranks. Hopefully this one will be entertaining. That one, you pick it. I really don't know how that one's going to go. Okay, next fight, which is the main event on the Fox Sports 1 prelims, we have Sergio Pettis versus Kaledes. This one right here is going to be interesting. Kaledes is a really tough, durable guy. Sergio Pettis, younger brother of Anthony Pettis, the former lightweight champion. Really talented guy. Lots of physical tools. This fight is going to be at 125 pounds at flyweight. The funny thing is that Anthony Pettis is also fighting on the main card, and he said last time he lost his championship that he wasn't ever going to fight again on the same card with his brother. Lo and behold, here they are again. I'm hoping nothing happens to Sergio Pettis. I hope he does well. In fact, I think he's going to be under a lot of pressure not to lose. Because of that, I think what's going to happen is that we're going to see a second or third round finish from Sergio Pettis on Kaledes. You know what? We're probably going to see a TKO. Either he's gonna take him out on the feet, or he's gonna bring him down and finish him up with the ground and pound. That's what we're probably gonna see. If that doesn't happen, though, that doesn't look good for both Sergio Pettis and Anthony Pettis' chances, because Anthony, he tends to get knocked out of his mental game, and it looks like whenever he gets knocked out of the mental game, he doesn't do well. But when he's on, he looks invincible. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Sergio is going to be under pressure to go ahead and win, but he's got all the tools and the skill to do it. So I think I'm going to call it right now. Third round TKO, Sergio Pettis over at Kaledes. Okay, on to the main card. The first fight of the main card, we have Yair Rodriguez from Mexico against Fili from the U.S. Yair is an exciting new fighter. He's come up through, I believe, the Ultimate Fighter Latin America. Uh, he's he's been exciting in each of his outings on UFC cards. I expect him to do, to do uh, the same thing. He's going to come out and he's gonna fight like he always does, dynamically on his feet, a lot of spinning stuff, a lot of jumping stuff, and he's going to be facing Andre Fili, who's actually a really tough out. You know, experienced guy from Team Alpha Male. Both these guys are known to be really non-stop fighters. They go ahead and they go out of their way to fight and to win. On this particular one, I'm picking, excuse me, I'm picking Andre Fili. I'm expecting that Yair is going to fall victim to the infamous Team Alpha Male guillotine choke. Andre is a great wrestler. He's a big guy for the division, and he also fights really well on his feet. What I think is going to happen is that he's going to mix in his takedowns with his striking, so that he can get Yair on the ground, wear him out, beat him up with some ground and pound. And when Yair, either reacts wrong, or either from getting up off the ground, or maybe he gets hurt and he goes ahead and he shoots, he's going to get caught in that guillotine. So I'm predicting Andre Fili, second or third round, guillotine choke finish over Yair Rodriguez. Next fight that we have is at welterweight, which is Robert Whittaker against Rafael Natal. Robert Whittaker, wait, no, it's not at welterweight, it's at middleweight. Sorry, Robert Whittaker, who's a former welterweight fighter, has looked phenomenal ever since moving up to middleweight. I don't know whether it was the weight loss or something else that was, hindering his performance, but ever since he decided not to cut that extra 15 pounds, he's been on a tear. I think we're going to see Robert Whittaker TKOing Rafael Natal, second or third round. End of second round, let's say that. End of second round, TKO by Robert Whittaker against Rafael Natal. Natal is a tough guy, and he's got the physical tools. He's got power, and he's a great jiu-jitsu guy. But last few fights that I've seen him in, he's kind of fallen in love with his hands. I'm thinking what's going to happen is that he's going to get caught by Whittaker, and after Whittaker catches him, he's going to follow him to the ground, and he's going to pound him out. So, yeah, this one isn't that far apart, but I'm going to pick Whittaker over Natal. Like I said, end of second round TKO. Next fight should be a really fun one. It is Anthony Showtime Pettis against Edson Barboza. Both of these guys, exciting, dynamic stand-up fighters. Power in both their kicks and their punches. Both of them really quick. Both of them really accurate. The question here is whether or not any of them are going to choose to go ahead and grapple with each other. Neither fighter, that's their first choice. We know Anthony Pettis is good enough off of his back to be able to get up and also submit people from there. It's going to be a question about whether or not Edson Barboza is going to choose to actually grapple and pressure Anthony Pettis that way. The other X factor that we have to consider during this particular fight is how will Anthony Pettis' younger brother do in his fight. Last time they fought on the same card, Sergio, he didn't do well. In fact, he got finished, and that obviously weighed on Anthony's mind, so much so that when Anthony went out to fight, he didn't do too well. He didn't do well, and he ended up losing that fight. He was so upset about it that he declared openly, like in the post-event conference, that he was never going to fight on any card with his brother if his brother is on it, on the same card ever again. fast forward to now, they're both on the same event again. I don't know about you, Anthony, but you know, if I was somebody who said something like that, that's a lot of undue pressure that I would have to go ahead and carry with myself into the ring. You know, and if on the off chance that your brother doesn't do well, that, you know, that mental unsteadiness, that can make the whole difference in all the world to these guys who are performing as world rankers, as contenders, as champions. You know, I'm confident that Anthony Pettis can go ahead and pull off the unanimous decision on this particular one. So that's how I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to choose it. Unanimous decision, Anthony Pettis over Edson Barboza. The problem with Barboza is this. He tends to be a front runner fighter. And the moment that he gets hurt, the moment that he feels pressured, or that he's not the guy who's in charge of the fight, he tends to crumble. So it's I've seen him lose fights that he should have been fine in. With Pettis, at least, even when he's on the losing end of fights, at least he's always trying to win. He's always trying to do something. On that end, I expect Anthony Pettis to be able to pull out unanimous decision over Edson Barboza. You know, unless his younger brother Sergio doesn't do well in his fight, in which case, you know, I'm thinking that it's going to reverse the other way around, and Barboza is going to be able to take control of the fight and pull out a unanimous decision of his own. So what's funny is that this is a fight that, if I'd have to see the prelim fight of, you know, earlier in the card to predict better how this one will go, but that's what I'm sitting with. If I had to sit there and make a wager to go ahead and you know, settle where my cards are going to lie, Anthony Pettis unanimous decision over Edson Barboza. That brings us to our main main event of the evening, the flyweight title fight between Demetrious Johnson and Henry Cejudo. Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson is kind of in a weird spot right now where, you know, it's obvious that he's the most dominant champ. He's the first champ and the only champ in his division, and he's literally cleaned the division out, except for like maybe 1, 2, or 3 other people. Only one of which is an actual contender for his title, and that's Henry Cejudo. So, you know, unfortunately, a lot of the more casual fans think that his fights are boring. I don't. I think that he's actually, you know, the most technical guy fighting in the UFC right now. Not just on a skills, like a demonstrable skills level, but also in fight. His in-ring fight IQ is really, really high, and he's always making adjustments. And even against guys that he fought en route to the championship, when he's faced them again, he's made adjustments where he's done better than last time. I mean, when he had to sit there and when he went out of his way, you know, when he had to sit there and fight his way through, let's see here, John Dodson. You know, John Dodson gave him a little bit of trouble in their first fight, knocked him down a few times, gave him a lot of issues. You know, their follow-up fight, he made the adjustments, and because of that, he came out of the fight looking as fresh as a spring daisy. You know, there's very few fighters that are able to go ahead and do that in their particular, you know, over the course of their career on a consistent basis. His second fight against Joseph Benavidez, you know, his first fight with Benavidez was a split decision. Second fight, he knocks him out in the first round. You know, again, he's getting better with all of his fights, and it's really impressive. Now, the only other guy that he hasn't faced and he hasn't cleaned out of the division who's an actual contender is Henry Cejudo. Henry Cejudo is a accomplished gold medal Olympic wrestler. You know, his wrestling ability is probably the best in the division. He's probably a better wrestler than most of the guys who are in higher weight classes. Um, the thing about it is that he's also one of those guys who can probably match the output with Demetrious Johnson as far as activity on a good night, you know, step for step, punch for punch, maneuver for maneuver. Now, with this particular fight, though, he's going to have to fight smart. He's going to have to go ahead and mix his takedowns in with his striking, punching, and kicking. All right, in order to go ahead, throw Johnson off of his game and throw him off of his rhythm. Because if Demetrious is able to sit there and he's able to set up his own rhythm, Cejudo is going to spend the whole fight just chasing him around. But Cejudo is also athletic enough to actually be able to catch Johnson, you know, and if he's not able to catch him, he's going to be able to pressure him enough, you know, through a clinch into the cage, to go ahead and hit a takedown. You know, this is a really close fight. And a lot of people say that you know, Demetrious Johnson's fights are boring. Like I said before, I think they're masterful. You know, when you have two guys who are actually fighting technically, it's not going to be a drag out brawl. It's not going to be, you know, this something out of you know, the climax of an action movie. All right, those things are entertaining, granted, but when you have somebody who's at the top of their game, who is practicing their craft to the best of their ability, it usually doesn't look like that, unfortunately. My prediction, Demetrious Johnson, split decision over Henry Cejudo. This is going to be a really, really close fight. Both of these guys are going to be constantly moving, constantly punching, constantly trying to checkmate the other guy. I believe Demetrious is going to be able to push out enough, especially in the championship rounds, at the end of the fourth and into the fifth round, where he's going to pull away from Henry Cejudo. Cejudo actually looked a little bit winded in his last fight. So there's a question of, you know, what his conditioning is like, especially since the cut down to 125, even for somebody of their height and size, is really brutal. You know, it can be really, really bad. And the thing about Henry Cejudo, if he trains MMA like he did with wrestling, he's got to have gone through some gym wars. All right. You know, and that wear and tear on your body, if you don't manage it outside of the ring well enough, it's going to affect you a lot when you actually get into the ring, especially in these championship fights. He struggled a little bit in his last fight, and admittedly, he said that his conditioning wasn't up to par. You know, with that, I expect Demetrious Johnson to pull away, end of fourth round, into the fifth round, and he's going to be able to pull out, you know, the split decision win. All right. With that brings us to the elephant in the room, the main event between Jon Jones and Ovince Preux. Now, I know if you're like me, this isn't the fight that you wanted to see. You know, Daniel Cormier had a ligament injury to his lower leg, and he had to pull out of the fight around 3 weeks ago. And yeah, everybody was looking forward to it. You know, if he said that, according to Daniel, he said that they've been working really hard at checking the low kicks, and that he was being kicked in the leg in the same spot over and over. He checked the kick, you know, during a sparring session, and just felt wrong after that, and that, you know, he had it checked out. There was no break, but they had seen some ligament damage on his lower leg between the I believe the tibia and fibula, which are connected together, and because of that, he had to pull out of the fight, which is unfortunate because I'm pretty sure that's a fight that everybody really, really wanted to see. you know, Ovince Preux, he steps in on short notice to go ahead and take the fight up. Talented guy, physically gifted, really athletic, and kind of an odd guy to go ahead and fight. The thing about it, though, is that I don't think he has the technical tools, neither is he a polished enough fighter to sit there and threaten Jon Jones. The other thing that we have to go ahead and take into consideration is that St. Preux, as dynamic of a striker as he is, as strong as he is, when he's gone up against other competent wrestlers, guys who are able to wrestle and take you down on a regular basis, he's found himself, floundering on his back in a very uncomfortable position. Ryan Bader was able to do it. Glover Teixeira was able to do it, where they were able to take him down, control him, and then just beat him up for like 2 or 3 rounds straight. That's not the place you want to be with Jon Jones on top of you, in control, pounding you out. I think what's going to happen with this particular one, Jon Jones is going to go ahead and he's going to get the TKO via ground and pound, probably between, probably at the end of the second round or early third round. So I'm going to say third round TKO for Jon Jones via ground and pound. OSP is a talented guy and everything else, but he's not the polished fighter with the amount of skills and technical acumen to really be able to challenge Jon Jones and be able to put him in a bad position, in a bad enough position that's going to throw him off of his game. Yeah, Jon Jones is going to stand with him for a little bit, and then he's going to take him down. We might see those huge dynamic slams and throws that he was famous for early in his career. Once that happens, Jones is going to put the leather to him, elbows and fists, all night long. That's going to rinse and repeat all the way up until, probably all the way up into the third round, where he's going to finally take him down and he's going to finish him up. It's going to be too much for OSP to handle. So Jon Jones, TKO, third round. All right. I'm still excited for the event, because even though we're not getting the main event that we were hoping to get, as to see Daniel Cormier against Jon Jones in a rematch, the fight card as a whole is really stacked. It's entertaining. The fight should be entertaining, and that's the great thing about the fight card. If one or two, the main event doesn't live up to your expectations, a lot of times the prelims or the previous fights can go ahead and cover up for that by a lot. My well wishes out to the champ. I hope he recovers, and hopefully we'll be able to get to see that fight soon, and we'll be able to see how much better Daniel Cormier has gotten, if at all, since his last time that he fought Jon Jones. With that, enjoy the fights, everybody. Thank you for spending the last 20 minutes or so with me. If you're so kind, hit the like button, hit subscribe. Leave comments below if you think I'm way off base, or if after the event you want to go ahead and rub dirt in my face because I'm way off base and that my predictions go all to crap, which I'll summarize in the description below. I welcome that. It's always great to start conversation that way, because just like any other match, conversation, debate, it's kind of that way, but it's a little bit more civilized than stepping in the ring. And let's just face it, when it comes to the fighters, they really don't have to be the better fighter all the time. They just have to be better than their opponent on the night they're in the ring. With that, have yourself a good day, YouTube. I'll see you later.
Let's get scratching.